Cardi B just stood on top of the internet and dropped a nuclear flex that has the entire industry shook. She didn't whisper it. She didn't slide it in a song. She counted her closet out loud like she was reading a hostage list, and what she really said between the lines. It's a confession dressed up as a flex. The trolls? They really thought screaming broke under every selfie was gonna break her. Bro, you'll pick the wrong woman to play with. Before we get into it, like, subscribe, don't miss it. Nah. Belcalis Marlonese Almonzo. Cardi B for the casuals. Fired off the now infamous, I got all of my 40 Hermes bags who the F*** case that I was sailing my *T. Clapback on X on Tuesday, May 26, after a hater account ran a coordinated post claiming she was offloading her Birkin collection on Poshmark. The trolls really thought a Photoshop resale screenshot was gonna stick to a woman with diamond plaques. Bro, you'll pick the wrong one. Now let's look at the receipts that show why this clapback wasn't really a clapback at all. Alright, pull your chair in. We're about to pull up every receipt in this story, one by one, with my whole chest. Receipt 1. The original troll post. On May 26 on X, a detractor account posted, and I quote, New. Former pole dancer and rapper turned influencer Cardi B is selling her Birkins. This follows after her self-funded tour made no profits and her label went up for sale. Yo, when I read this, I had to read it 3 times. 3 lies stacked on top of each other like a Big Mac of disrespect. Selling Birkins? Tour made no profits? Label up for sale? Bro really woke up and chose chaos. Receipt 2. Cardi's actual response. Same day, May 26, Cardi went off. Her exact words, I got all of my 40 Hermes bags who the F*** case that I was sailing my SHT. Asterisk yo. Yo, when I saw 40 sitting there in black and white, I had to put my phone down. That's not a clapback. That's an inventory. That's a receipt with a serial number. And the troll who started this? My guy. You tried to convince the timeline a Grammy-winning, diamond plaque-having superstar was hawking handbags on Poshmark. That's the dumbest flex I've ever seen attempted. Receipt 3. Cardi's follow-up. Minutes later, she went back in, what made them start these random-ass lies? Did something happen? I'm so confused. That did something happen. Right there. That's a tell. That's a woman who knows something happened. Something behind the scenes. Something the public ain't been told yet. You don't ask, did something happen, if you don't already smell smoke somewhere in the building. Receipt 4. The Defender quote. A fan account fired back with, and I'm quoting verbatim, Cardi would literally start driving Uber before she ever sells a Birkin. You'll do not know that woman at all. That's sentence 8. But also, that sentence is doing free PR work the label should be doing. Hold that thought. Receipt 5. The Billboard numbers that nuke the troll's whole premise. The Little Miss Drama Tour reportedly grossed over $70 million and sold 453,000 tickets, per Billboard's own reporting. Live Nation fronted a reported $20 million advance for production. So the self-funded tour made no profits line? My brother in Christ, that's not a rumor. That's malware. When somebody's that wrong on the math, you can't take ANY or their other claims seriously. They lost the plot before the post ever went up. Receipt 6. Cardi on the rollout itself. In a skit during her Am I the Drama? Rollout. Cardi literally joked that Atlantic cut her budget after financing the Imaginary Players video, which is why she ended up physically selling CDs at bodegas, MTA stations, and on 125th Street in Harlem. Bro. When I heard her joke that Atlantic cut her budget, even as a skit, I was like, nah, that's not a joke. That's a hostage video with a laugh track. Nobody jokes about their label cutting their bag unless something real is happening in the room. Now that we got the quotes, let's connect the dots. Here's where it gets crazy. You didn't notice the timeline, though. That clapback dropped the same week the Little Miss Drama Tour rap numbers were hitting trade publications, when the conversation about touring profitability was the loudest it's been all cycle. That's not a coincidence. That's a calendar move. Somebody on that team is watching the news cycle like a hawk and waiting for the perfect window to drop a number that resets every spreadsheet in every boardroom. That troll post wasn't from a no-name. It came packaged with a Photoshop Poshmark screenshot, a fake label up for sale angle, and a tour made no profits angle. 3 lies in one tweet. That's not organic hate, brew. That's coordinated. That's the kind of post that looks like it was written by somebody who wanted the trade press to ask Atlantic for a comment. Convenient timing, right? And Atlantic really thought nobody would connect those dots? That's the move of somebody who doesn't have real advisors in the room. The behind-the-scenes context: Atlantic Records went through a public leadership change after Cardi was signed. And anybody who's been in this industry for 5 minutes knows what that means. The people who signed you ain't the people writing the checks anymore. The new regime doesn't have emotional buy-in on your career. The new regime is looking at your line item asking, do we keep paying this number? That's the energy Cardi is walking into right now. The Offset relationship, their divorce paperwork has been a whole storyline for over a year. People reported a multi-million-dollar spousal support agreement was on the table, and Cardi herself went on X Spaces and said the divorce wasn't finalized for financial reasons. So, opposition narratives really tried to push broke the exact week a financial picture was being publicly recalculated. Any smart hater would have waited for the dust to settle. But desperation doesn't wait. The album rollout, Am I the Drama, dropped after a 7-year wait, and fans openly clocked the marketing as soft. She was literally selling CDs in subway stations as a skit, but also kind of for real. So her fans are screaming about underpromotion, the trolls are screaming about broke, and the label is silent. 3 pressures, same window. That's not a vibe, that's a setup. And Cardi saw it from a mile away. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Now check this out. Nobody's talking about the word she chose. Zoom in on one word from her tweet. Got. Not bought. Not paid for. Not purchased. She said, I got all of my 40 Hermes bags. That verb is doing Olympic-level work. Got is the loosest verb in the English language. Got can be bought. Got can be gifted. Got can be owned. Got can be a PR pool. That single syllable covers every possible source for those bags and still lands as a flex. Whoever fired off that tweet, Cardi herself or somebody in her ear, understood that the verb was a loophole and the number was a headline. That's editor-level word choice. And the trolls? Bro, the trolls didn't even read the verb. They were too busy arguing about the noun. That's the problem with opposition. They don't read between the lines. Now zoom in on the number. 40, not 38. Not 42. Not a lot. 40. Specificity is always a tell. Baby. Vague flexes feel like cope. Specific flexes feel like a bank statement. The reason this number ate the timeline is because it sounds like an inventory and a flex at the same time. Big enough to be intimidating, small enough to be believable, round enough to be memorable. That number wasn't picked by accident. That number was workshopped, even if it was workshopped in 0.3 seconds in Cardi's own brain. And the haters still haven't caught that. You are still arguing about whether it's true. You're arguing about the wrong noun. The verb already let her off the hook. Now check the visual forensics. The clapback wasn't a video. It wasn't a closet tour. It wasn't a luxury haul. It was a text post. No bag shown. No proof asked for. Just a sentence sitting on the timeline daring you to call her bluff. That's a power move because she made you do the work. She made the timeline imagine 40 bags instead of showing them. And the imagined version is always bigger than the actual version. That psychological framing 101. If she'd shown the bags, you'd count them. If she shows 0 bags, you imagine a vault. The vault wins every time. And opposition really thought asking where's a closet tour was a gotcha? Brew, the missing closet tour is the flex. She doesn't owe you a tour. The tour is the audacity to ASK for one. One more layer, the platform. She didn't say this on IG Live where it'd look defensive. She didn't say it in a song where it'd sound like bravado. She said it on X in reply to a troll, which means the troll's post became the setup for her punchline. The hater literally built her stage. The hater literally handed her the MIC. And the hater's account is now permanently attached to her quote in every blog write-up forever. That's not just a clapback, that's a hostile takeover of somebody else's tweet. And the troll's still over there typing like he scored a point. Embarrassing. Now let's see how the media covered this. Here's where the framing war shows itself. Complex framed this as a clean clapback story. Troll lies, star debunks. End of article. They mentioned the verb, they mentioned the number, they mentioned Live Nation. They moved on. That's a publication trying to stay in their lane. But notice what Complex didn't do. They didn't connect the timing to the album rollout. They didn't connect it to Atlantic's leadership change. They didn't connect it to the divorce financial chatter. They reported the sentence. They didn't report the strategy. That's how mainstream culture press handles these moments. Surface only. Yahoo basically syndicated the Complex angle. Same framing. Same focus on the Poshmark Photoshop. Same she's confused angle. The framing across mainstream is Cardi defends herself, like she's the one on trial. Nah, the troll is the one with the L. But mainstream culture press won't frame it that way because the troll narrative gets more clicks. Rolling Stone went a totally different direction. They framed Cardi's whole rollout as her life as the album rollout, basically arguing she IS'd a marketing campaign because the label couldn't be one for her. That's the closest any mainstream outlet got to the truth of what's happening here. They saw the pattern. They didn't name it as a label versus artist war, but they noticed Cardi was doing the lifting Atlantic should be doing. Shatter the standards when the hardest. They straight up said there was a public rift between Cardi and Atlantic Records and pointed out the leadership change of the label. They quoted the skit where Cardi joked the label cut her budget. That's the only outlet I've seen connect the rollout struggles to the corporate structure. And that's the framing that matters. Now some Cardi skeptics on the timeline are running with the counter-narrative. She's protesting too much. Healthy stars don't count their bags. But those are the same people who thought WAP would tank her career. Same people who said Body Gang was a phase. The receipts say the tour grossed $70 million. The receipts say the album hit projections hard enough that her label CEO publicly said it blew past projections. If you still think Cardi's broke after all that, you're not skeptical. You're biased. But here's what nobody is saying. Mainstream culture press wants you to believe this is a fun little internet moment. Troll lies. Star claps back. We all laugh. Scroll on. That's a safe story. That's a story that keeps everybody employed and nobody sued. Here's what they won't tell you. This isn't about a Birkin. This isn't about a troll. This isn't even really about Cardi B. This is about industry politics. Specifically, the oldest play in the major label playbook, and Cardi B just refused to be the next victim of it. Here's the play. When an artist's contract is approaching renegotiation, the label gets quiet. The marketing budget mysteriously thins out. The radio push softens. The billboards don't go up in the cities they were supposed to. The TikTok partnered playlist push? Crickets. The numbers dip a little because of the artificial silence. Then the label points at the dip and says, "See? You're not as hot as you thought. Let's restructure." That's not a conspiracy theory. That's standard operating procedure in this business, and every veteran artist has lived through it at least once. Atlantic Records, with a new leadership regime in place since Cardi was signed, is running the exact playbook on the biggest female rapper of her generation. That's not an accusation. That's a pattern. And opposition narratives are puppets in that play whether they know it or not. Now look at the troll post one more time. Self-funded tour made no profits. Label went up for sale. Selling Birkins. 3 statements designed to do anything. Make Cardi look like she's losing leverage right when leverage matters most. That post wasn't organic hate. That post was either coordinated or weaponized after the fact. And whoever's whisper network it bubbled up from, they benefit from Cardi looking weak at the negotiation table. I'm not saying Atlantic planted it. I'm saying, who else benefits from that exact narrative landing in that exact window? Nobody. Just the suits with a pen hovering over her next contract. The trolls are useful idiots. The boardroom is a real client. This is also a historical pattern. We've seen this movie before. Mariah Carey versus Sony. Prince versus Warner, literally writing slave on his face to break out. JoJo lost in legal hell with Blackground for nearly a decade. Kesha versus Sony. The list is long, and every name on it is a woman who got financially squeezed by a label that decided her stock was dropping. The labels always lose a long fight in public, but they almost always win the short fight in private. Because by the time the artist gets her freedom, half her prime years are gone. Cardi watched that movie. Cardi took notes. And Cardi just refused to play her assigned role. She is repeating the same countermove every smart female artist has eventually learned. Get loud before they can shrink you quiet. Opposition narratives. Really thought she'd take the quiet L like the women before her? Nah. Wrong generation. Wrong woman. Here's the authenticity angle on top of it. The trolls aren't even mad about money. They are mad that a black woman from the Bronx, a former dancer, openly owns 40 homies Birkins, items that have historically been gatekept by old money white women through invitation-only wait lists. Cardi having 40 isn't just a wealth flex. It's a cultural flex. It's an industry flex. It's the gate you tried to keep me behind. I have 40 keys. That's what's really making the timeline ill. They're not asking where are the bags, because they doubt the bags exist. They're asking where are the bags, because they want her to justify herself for having them. That's the part she refused to do. And that's why the tweet hit so hard. She didn't justify a thing. She just said the number and dared you to come for her. Opposition is rewriting their hater concern, but the receipts say it's the same gatekeeping in a new costume. And the psychological warfare layer? What's the composure in that tweet? There's no shake, no defensiveness, no emoji parade, just a flat sentence and a curse word for seasoning. A defensive woman raises her voice. A panicked woman over-explains. A broke woman lists evidence in frantic order. Cardi did none of those things. She delivered, I got all of my 40 with the energy of somebody reading a weather report. That flatness is the entire forbidden take. She's not playing checkers with these trolls. She's playing chess with Atlantic. The trolls are pawns. The boardroom is the king. And every move she makes between now and her next contract negotiation is positioning. Opposition is making moves on the surface. Cardi is moving pieces 3 layers underneath. And that's the truth they won't tell you. The 40 Birkin flex was never a clapback. It was a counter-leverage move broadcast on the only frequency the boardroom can't ignore, the public one. So what happens next? Here's what's most likely to happen. Mark my words. In the next 60 to 90 days, you're gonna see Atlantic's PR team start leaking how committed they are to Cardi's next project. Watch for it. There's gonna be a sudden flurry of trade publication articles about Atlantic's renewed investment in their female superstar roster. They're gonna start dropping the kind of press that should have already been dropped during a minor drama. When that happens, just remember, that's not generosity. That's damage control. The trolls trying to push the broke narrative are gonna look desperate screaming into a void, because the algorithm is gonna serve everybody a fresh batch of Cardi BS Empire's growing articles. The label is gonna pretend they were on this energy the whole time. We'll know better. Opposition will try to escalate the broke narrative, but nobody's gonna care once the trade headlines flip. Scenario 2, the alternative path. If Cardi's team plays it spicier, she's gonna drop something that proves the flex without ever showing a bag. Maybe it's a luxury partnership announcement. Maybe it's a beauty brand expansion. Maybe it's a stake in a fashion house. Whatever it is, watch for the move that quietly says, I'm building wealth at a level the trolls can't even comprehend. If that happens, opposition is gonna get obliterated because they stake their whole platform on the broke narrative. We saw what Cardi did to Tomi Lahren on Twitter. We saw what she did to Ezialia in public. She doesn't lose these fights. She ENDS careers. The broke trolls don't stand a chance the second she pivot from defense to offense. Scenario 3, the bigger picture. This moment is gonna age into a case study. 5 years from now, when there's a Harvard Business Review piece on how female artists fight major label compression in the streaming era, this exact tweet is gonna be cited. The 40 Birkin clapback is going in the textbook the same way I am not throwing away my shot went into the Hamilton textbook. Because what Cardi just demonstrated, using a troll's coordinated attack as a stage to broadcast leverage to the boardroom, that's a new playbook. That's not Mariah's playbook. That's not Prince's playbook. That's a 2026 social media native playbook that every female artist signed to a major is about to start studying. And opposition narratives, who tried to push the she's washed angle, people will look back at this as the moment they got embarrassed. 5 years from now, those troll accounts will be deleted, and Cardi's number will still be in the headlines. The bonus layer, the renegotiation talk. If Atlantic comes back with a number that doesn't match the energy of a woman who casually inventoried 40 Birkins on a Tuesday, the leak will come the other way. Watch for it. Industry whispers will start dropping about Cardi exploring options for her next deal. That's the chess move she set up with a tweet. She established the floor. The label can't lowball without looking foolish in public. They are trapped, and they walked into it because they thought silence was a strategy. Silence is only a strategy if the artist plays along. Cardi just refused to play along. Our opposition is watching the culture move with her, not past her, and there's nothing they can do about it. Whatever happens, one thing's clear. The trolls already lost. The boardroom already heard the math. And Cardi B is 2 moves ahead of everybody still arguing about whether the bags are real. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found.